Alright, hey guys, welcome to today's video. Got something really special. I'm gonna be talking about the top 10 best Arcane Legend heroic pets in 2019. So stay tuned. I'm gonna judge them based on pretty much every category you can think of. And I'm gonna name from the top 10 to, the top 10 to number 1 in my opinion. Before we get into the video, I signed up for this app called SWEATCOIN, which basically, as you walk, you kind of get coins, which you can exchange for money in real life. The link in the description if you want to do that. If you are someone who has a phone and you like walking, might as well get paid for it. Get the app. It will be the top link in the description. Now, coming off number 10 to consider these pets, I have considered the amount of money it costs to buy them, the uses it has, and just pretty much every category you guys can think of how easily you can get this pet as well, and all that kind of good stuff. So at number 10, I have selected heroic Sam. If you didn't know, heroic Sam is a really good pet which looks pretty awesome. So as you can see, it's a pretty cool pet. The reason I picked this pet at top 15 is top 10 is because this pet has a really good passive ability. It can spread poison toxin with every tick, so you can clear mobs easily. It also had really nice stats, as you can see: 45 primary, 20% damage, 15% crit, and all 10. And the Arcane ability is pretty good as well: 20 chance percent to kill an enemy instantly. All of this sounds really good, but the reason this pet isn't at higher up on the list, I guess, because this pet is ridiculously expensive. It's about 25 to 30 million, and the pet is extremely rare to get hold of. This is in a list of the rarest pet. This is a best of the list of pets that are best in terms of cost and use and what most people can afford. Now at number 10, I have picked heroic Dovabear. The passive is okay, nothing too special, but the happiness bonus is really good. You get 15% damage, 45 primary stats, and 30% all stat with mana, 400 mana and 15 mana regen. It also has a really good arcane ability as well. It can damage a lot of mobs, especially at low level. I personally think this is more of a pet for warriors. So, and lastly, the cost for this is pretty low as well. It cost only about a 1 million to actually buy this pet. It's a pretty cool looking pet as well. Reminds me of a movie. But anyway, that is my number 9 pet. At number 10, I have selected heroic Dreambot. It used to be a really cool pet, one of the OP ones at level 61. It gives you 15% damage, 25% all stat, 450 armor, 50% primary, which is like the highest primary I think in the game. There's a passive as well, which has passive mana field, which is a chance to ignore mana, which is pretty good as well. The reason it's at number 10 is because of the ignoring mana and the good stats as well. This is kind of good, but not really that OP. This pet does cost about, I think, 8 million, somewhere around 8 million. So that is my number 8 pet. At number 7, I have selected the pet Timmo, which should be somewhere around here. I'm struggling to find that. There it is. Now, if you didn't know, Trimmer is a really cool looking pet. I really like the look of this pet. It has a decent melee, but nothing too special. It can cause bleed, which means they take damage over time, which is kind of nice. But the reason I picked it is because it gives you 25% bonus gold loot and 25% loot reroll chance, which basically means luck. And you also get 25% bonus gold loot from his sword. That's essentially 50% gold loot from this pet. I think that is pretty ridiculous, and that's why I have selected this to be the 7th best heroic pet. The if you're lucky, of course, another member of your party can get this and not essentially you. So that is why, and this pet is roughly about 4 million, which is not too bad as well. At number 6, I have selected Heroic Magma. If you didn't know, Heroic Magma was one of the best pet, I think, about a year ago, maybe 2 years, I'm not sure. But this pet is really good. 15% damage, 45% stats, 25% all stat, 15% crit. So this is, this is a better pet for a warrior or rogues, especially warriors if they're because they have such low crit, not that they really need it. And this arcane ability is probably arguably one of the best, especially if you're a war jewel farmer, because you get a shield which ignite enemies in fire and reduces their armor and deals them damage and damage over time, which is pretty overpowered. You get a little bit of lightning effect, and the pet is pretty cool looking too. Although this you can get with the normal pet anyway, but this has higher damage and higher critical. Remember, this is only at level 1. As you increase, it obviously gets better power. At number 5, I have selected Heroic Lucky. Now, you might be wondering why this is. Well, firstly, you get 40% bonus gold loot, which is ridiculous. The highest in the game as a happiness bonus. Also give you 5% reroll chance to the party, which is really nice as well. The reason I've picked this because this is probably the rarest pet in Arcane Legend. This pet was released a few years ago, and ever since then I haven't seen any of them. There's barely few people that actually have this pet. So it's extremely rare, about cost about 50 million and gives about 40%. Although I haven't seen this pet in so long that I don't actually know how much this pet is actually worth anymore. I know Zulong is about over 100 million. That's Arcane, so that doesn't really count and fall into this category. If you guys like this another video on Arcane, top 10 Arcane and top 10 Mythic and top 10 Legendary as well, I can make a video on that as well. Leave a like if you are still watching and want to see a video on those rarities as well. Now, going into number 4. Number 4, I have selected Heroic Kisogata. Now, this is a pet that is really cute, I guess. Some people think it's ugly, some people think it's cute. I personally think it's a cute looking pet, especially with all the heart coming out and the red aura. Now, despite the look, this pet gives you 20% damage, which is ridiculous, 45% primary stats, which is absolutely, 45% all stats, which is ridiculous, 10% crit and 400 mana and 5% damage reduction. The reason this pet isn't any higher on the list is because it's actually doesn't have any primary stats, which I don't really like in a pet, but it It has a really good arcane ability. Generates a field of dense, loving fog that deals damage and has a 50% chance to charm target enemies to your side for up to 10 seconds. Charm enemies deal 500% damage and taunt nearby enemies. As you can see, it makes a field that damages enemies and has a 50% chance to turn them on your side, and when they turn on your side for 10 seconds, they can deal 500% more damage to their own kind. So pretty overpowered, and that is why I have selected this pet to be the top 4. The only reason this pet isn't any higher on the list is because it actually cost over 10 million, which I think is a bit too much. Although arguably my next pet, the third on the list, is Heroic Chris and Kringle / Heroic Meshi. I've had a struggle deciding this, but I personally think this pet is kind of better because these two brothers, they there you go, they just gave a high five. Anyway, they're pretty cool. 15% damage, 45% alt stats, 5% elite damage, 15% crit, which is pretty high, and 286 armor. So it gives that buff as well to rogues and all the other characters alike. Also buffs nearby allies with renewed spirits, which heals 20% of your health, adds heal over time, increases damage by 6%, and removes all status ailments. And that basically means, like, if you're rooted or if you're snared, or if you're taunted, if you're trapped in a spider, ask pretty much anything. If you're cursed, pretty much can remove everything. So that is why I picked this OP stats plus this really overpowered elements. The only downside to this pet is extremely expensive. Sorry, cost over 30 million, I think. In comparison to the Heroic Meshi, 15%, 25% damage, 8% all stats, 30 primary, 15% all stats, and yeah, no, just I think Heroic Person Kringle is statistically most superior, although some people would prefer the Heroic Meshi for the passive it provides. Now, at number 2, this was a no-brainer for me, just because I know this is like one of the most used pet, especially for me, is Heroic Fenris. The reason for this is this pet, as you can see, a lot of damage, a lot of critical, a claw that hits multiple targets, so can hit multiple targets, has to cause to bleed heavily, so they will take damage over time. Reduce their armor by 20%, which means you can deal damage to them, even more damage. And slow movement by 25%, not that significant, but kind of helps. It gives you 15% damage, 45% primary stat, which is really high, 25% all stat, 6% armor bonus, which is really significant for pretty much all of the classes, especially warriors, and gives you 50%, 15% speed. Now, this 15% speed only works if you don't have a speed set on. And lastly, takes a bite for the Arcane ability, takes a bite of enemy, causing them to bleed for 2.5% of his maximum health over time. There has been so many events over the years where pretty much this Arcane ability has been used to do a lot of damage to bosses, because despite 2.5%, if everyone in your party does it, that's 10% damage every time you do it, and that's out of the maximum health of the boss. So it's a really significant Arcane ability, especially to take down boss, and the stat is really good as well. The best thing about this pet is pretty much every class can benefit from this. And lastly, the pet is extremely cheap, almost about 1 million. So pretty much everyone can enjoy these stats and the the look as well. Like, I think this pet looks pretty awesome as well. So that's why I have picked this pet to be the second one. Lastly, and finally, I think the best pet is Heroic Acalia. Why have I chosen this? Well, firstly, has pretty much the same stats, very similar to Heroic Fenris. Gives 15% damage, 15% critical, 45% primary stats, 25% all stats, and 5% mana ignore. Kind of helpful as well. The stat is slightly better than Heroic Fenris. I think, especially because this speed is really not necessary for most people in endgame, as they tend to have speed set anyway. But the reason I picked this to be number one is because a lot of the time in Arcane Legend, we spend most of our time doing damage to mobs. Now, this one takes a venomous bite out of the enemy. They're covered in Werewolf Slobber Bite Explode. Slobber, the bite explodes, spreading the disease in a chain reaction to nearby enemies. Other slobbered enemies also explode with disease. So as you can see, it gives a venomous bite which explodes and damages them, and causes a chain reaction, dealing damage to everyone else. And when everyone finishes with the damage from the disease as well, it explodes. And the good thing about this pet is only cost about 1.5 million. So if you're looking to take out mobs easier, this is your number one go-to pet. If you're looking to take the boss out, this is your number one go-to pet. Anyway, that concludes pretty much the top 10 pets in Arcane Legend. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Sorry this video was so long, but I'll end it here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.